Alright, so I'm making my jig now to make the solar tester for the different mirror types. So I'm going to be able to lay mirrors in here, or support systems to make them super straight, because I'm going to have these guide rods. And what I did is I glued blocks on the bottom. This one's just for gluing there with the saran wrap. And then I'm going to put this rod in. It's a threaded rod. It's a 7/16. And I drilled this like one size bigger, so it had some room. And what I'm going to do is put this in here and make sure it's super straight. I'm going to glue it in place, and I'll have a second rod in here. And these two rods will guide pieces on. Those pieces will have holes in them, 2 holes to set them to make sure that they line up perfectly. So now I filled the bottom here with glue, and I actually took a little piece of wood and wedged it in there to create less of a gap, so I know it has to go in a certain direction. And then I just take my square here and I just line it up, and I make sure that there's no gap all the way down, and I do that all the way around. And then when it's perfectly straight, which it doesn't look like right now, then I just let that dry, and then I'm going to do another one, and that should be able to make really straight mirror supports. So I drilled this piece of threaded rod straight here, and then I drilled 2 holes here, the same as the threaded rod, and I just fed it down the one side. Now this is going to let me line up the next hole, and this piece here is going to be the template. So I'm going to use these 2 holes to drill the holes in all these other pieces. So I'll just line it up and then drill through this piece. Now I'm going to drill here the next hole for the threaded rod, and then I'll have 2 of them, and then our jig should be complete. So now I've clamped the template here that's already drilled on top of the next one that hasn't been drilled. It's just going to line up these holes, so the next time I drill it's going to go straight through. So this is how the jig works. I take these support sections for the mirror and I slide them down, and then I put the pieces across to brace, so I'll have 2 pieces on here. And this piece I can join another piece of mirror support to any other piece, so I could have it up high, I could have it a couple feet high. And this is a test to see. I'm going to build a bigger version of this for the solar powered car meter. This is only 1 foot across, the other one will be 6 feet across the solar powered car. So here I'm just gluing the last rod, the 2 rods, and here I put the 2 pieces in to make sure that the spacing is the correct amount, so I can slide pieces down later. And this will just hold them in place to make sure everything is straight. I also need to check to make sure that this is straight. It can probably move like in this direction and that direction. And then once everything is square, then it should dry, and then I'll have my jig. So I have my jig set up here. It's all lined up. I'm going to take these pieces, and these are going to be the supports that I'm going to glue here. So I'm going to put some glue on the top here to glue to this surface, and then on the bottom here to glue to that piece. This is the first part I'm putting together with the assembly jig. So I have these threaded rods that keep everything nice and straight. So I have my 2 pieces, and then the supports in between. And then the mirror is going to be laid on this surface here. So I have to make sure this is all nice and flush, and there's no bumps or anything there. And what's great about this threaded rod is that these nuts, I can just twist them down, and that'll clamp everything down and make sure the glue here is very strong when it solidifies. And again, everything's nice and straight. So if I'm making a lot of these for the solar powered car, it's really great to have a jig. I just throw it together, clamp it down, and I know it's going to be built properly every time.